Amazing. Lucinda, welcome to Spark TV. Cheers.
Cheers. I'm so embarrassed of my goblet. It's like enormous, but you know.
Don't worry, I did pour the entire piccolo into this, so I'm with you.
I feel like we've both got about 1.6 standards.
That's right. That's right.
We're in it together.
Yeah, exactly. We're on a journey. I'm so excited that you're with me here. It's not just me alone. So thank you for your moral support.
You can always rely on me for that at any time.
Well, I might have you as a repeat guest then.
Yeah, that could be dangerous, I think.
Totally. Amazing. Well, look, the way I like to start these off is by sharing your story. So obviously you are the owner, founder, all things amazing at Bayly PR. But how did you start that? Is there a backstory? Did you have a career first? Have you always been in business? Like, tell us how you got here.
Yeah, for sure. So it's really, it's still pretty early days of BPR, which is kind of crazy because it's just gone gangbusters really quickly. But yeah, I've been in PR, marketing, comms, a lot more PR comms side of things for like a decade.
Wow.
So started my career in Brizzy. I went to UQ, you know, I did the whole UQ thing, studying in the library every night.
Very studious of you. Good.
I know. Oh God, 4's open doors is all I can say. I'm not sure how much studying actually got done. And so I started my career on James Street in New Farm. So I started with like their PR and comms office and the department that kind of runs the precinct. After a couple of years, I moved to London. I worked in the startup world over in London. I loved that. Got kicked out after 2 years because of my visa, and a startup. It wasn't like one of those like unicorn startups that's going to sponsor me. It was like bootstrap.
It was a see you later startup.
Literally, like, cool. We don't even need to give you a raise anymore. Like, move on, and we'll get someone else who's you 2 years ago.
Oh my God.
And so I came back, and then I started actually working in the healthcare space, so like the pediatric healthcare space. So I kind of darted between there and agency, and that was kind of my first time that I got agency experience, which I loved. But yeah, also really loved that pediatric healthcare, so I ended up going back there because it was really nice doing something with meaning. And I was pretty much there until a few months ago, because I started BPR at the end of last year-ish.
Yeah.
As essentially like a side hustle, freelancer. You know, I would constantly get requests from friends and family asking, can you help me with this press release? Or, hey, how should I do this? Or what do I do on social media here? Or how do I run this campaign? And obviously I was just like, yeah, sure, give. And then I kind of figured out, okay, if I actually put a framework around this, then I can kind of charge, even though they're my friends and family, I can't just keep, you know, going and going.
You can't, like, you're not running a charity here.
Exactly. So I just put a kind of framework around it, put up an Instagram, very organic. And then next thing I know, I was like getting inquiries from people I didn't know. So I was still working full time and doing it on the side. So I'd kind of get home from my job, sit at my computer until like 10, 11 p.m. and then couldn't do that anymore. So then I asked to go part-time at my previous role, which was at the Children's Hospital Foundation, which was amazing. And I just loved it so much. And my boss there was amazing and supportive and said yes. And then about 2 weeks after I went part-time, I handed in my resignation. So I don't know how happy she was with me then.
You're fabulous, but I'm leaving.
Yeah. I was like, thank you so much for the support. It's so great that it's allowed me to actually piss off now.
But so cool though. Like, amazing that you like made it happen in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, it took a bit for me to go part-time, obviously. In 4 weeks you can go part-time. But yeah, it's just all moved insanely quickly. I kind of decided in January that, okay, I'll actually give it a nudge. You know, I've started this thing, but I wasn't really putting any energy into it. Okay, I'll give it a nudge now. And then in September, it's, you know, 5 days a week, 9 to 5. yeah, so that's kind of how it started, and it just kind of snowballed, really.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And I guess the thing is like, it was very clear that people needed help,
Yeah.
like if people are reaching out organically going, hey, I know you're an expert in something, can you please help? Seems like a good idea to build a business around.
Yeah, but you always, like, you think that, people ask you, or I felt like, people would come and ask me, then I'd give them my help, and I would always be like, that was probably the worst advice. They're probably never going to come back to me. Like, why would they ever, actually, like, I could never do this as a business because I'm probably not actually very good at it. I mean, that's like the classic imposter syndrome. So that took ages to get over.
How did you get over it? Do you have any secrets?
I was actually speaking to my therapist about this the other day.
Love that.
I was saying, like, you just have to realize what the facts are and what's fiction. So, like, what is your brain telling you, but what's, like, the outcomes? What are the outcomes telling you? And the outcomes are that I'm getting repeat clients. I'm, getting good feedback. Yeah. So if that's the feedback that's coming to me, my brain can't keep telling me that I'm not good at it, or I'm doing a bad job, because if I was, the outcomes would be different. But then my brain is still like, but it will happen. They'll stop coming back.
Just wait. Wait. Yeah. I'll be right one day.
Yeah. It's like, just when you're nice and comfortable and you got this, I'm here to wipe it all out. So I think that's something that doesn't really ever go away, especially in women. But yeah. It's
wow. So talk to me about PR then. So, we hear about PR and that we all need it. And it's like, it seems to be a bit of an art in a lot of people's opinion. So I'm keen to understand what it is and why we need it first. And then I'll ask you another question.
Okay. I mean, I really should have my sales pitch for this more nailed down, because it's like, why do I need PR? And I'm like, let me think.
Because it's great.
yeah, because you get to hang out with me.
Sold.
I mean, yeah. I think people have this perception of PR as very similar to marketing, or just like social media influencers, or you've got characters on Sex and the City like Samantha Jones. Is that her last name? Samantha Jones?
Yeah.
And it's like this fabulous lunching, blah, blah, blah. But it's really, I think it's the reason that most people and businesses need PR is for that kind of steadiness and that reliability, is because when you're building your brand, if you don't have PR there to complement it, or you don't have someone guiding, where it's going, who it's going out to, then there's no point in really doing it. So I just think it's really about strategically aligning your brand or your business or your personal brand or whatever it is to the places that you want it to go and to the people that you want it to be in front of.
Yeah.
Because there's only so much that digital marketing can do. From my perspective, I find PR as more authentic in a way. There's this saying, and it's like advertising is like telling people that you're good, and then it's like PR is making them believe it.
Yeah.
Or having them believe that you're good, or seeking you out as opposed to you seeking them out. But yeah, I think it's just a lot more holistic for a brand. And I think, it encapsulates so many different arenas. And I love the traditional side of PR. I love, writing a press release and getting it in print media, or getting it on, an online blog or whatever that might be. But then there's, stakeholder engagement. There's, copywriting and engaging with your customers. There's coming up with internal comms strategies. So yeah, it's very multifaceted as well. It's not just, hey, here's your name in print, give me some money.
Yeah, I mean, I love that too, because when I think about it, I always think, like, anytime I've talked to PR people, it's always been about, like, what story can we tell? And that doesn't happen in advertising. Like you said, advertising is usually just shouting at people going, hey, this is what we're awesome at.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And this is how much we'll charge you for it. And it's 20% off.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah. And like storytelling is one of my favorite things to do. Like, I love brand storytelling. It's something that I fell in love with even more in the pediatric health care space, because obviously I was working with a lot of families and a lot of kids who were going through, you know, these unbelievable journeys. And yeah, I think everyone has a story, and every brand has a story as well. You know, I'm working with small businesses that, you know, are working out of their garage, just trying to push a product that they really believe in. And that just makes me really happy working with them and then being able to see results, because it means a little bit more.
Yeah, totally. And interesting, I love the you know, you being able to tell these brand stories. What do you think the value is of getting someone like you to do PR versus me as business owner to try my hand at PR?
I mean, I think there's advantages to both, because sometimes you do find that, you know, journos are like, get this PR chick out of my face.
Yeah.
You know, and then like you might go and pitch and they might be like, oh, what a lovely little brand story. But then there is the flip side of that, where, you know, the journalist is like, why am I getting all these things from these small business owners? I don't know any of them. They're sending me 8-page essays instead of, you know, 3 sentences. So yeah, I think if you're a small business, you're always going to want to try and do everything yourself. Yeah, I know that, because I have been trying to do a lot of things myself, which I've quickly learned I'm not good at. So I think honestly, it's more just something that could take a small business owner with no experience in PR 8 hours to do could actually take me 1 hour. And, you know, what's important, where are you investing your money, where are you investing your time, and just doing it really smartly. I think it's also realizing the moment that you need it, because, you know, you don't necessarily need PR the second that you decide to create a business. You might, but you might not. You might not need it for 2 years, you might not need it for 10 years, but it's kind of at one point thinking, okay, well, actually this acquisition's coming up, so maybe we get some PR around that. Or, hey, I actually just can't do it all myself. Or actually, I'm going to hire a digital marketing person in-house and then outsource the PR side. Sorry, my dog has a squeaky toy outside, if you can hear it.
I thought it was a bird.
No, that's my dog, Gertie.
Love it.
Yeah, she's like, hype woman, go mom.
Awesome, I know, that's it. We always need cheerleaders.
Exactly. But yeah, I think it's just about finding the right time, and then also, you know, prioritizing, like it is with any business or any investment that you make as a small business owner. It took me so long to invest in an accountant, and I can tell you that was desperately needed, because I'm in communications for a reason. So I think once you kind of do it, you're like, oh, this is
I see now.
Yeah. And I think PR is one of those things as well, because it's like, oh, that's what you do. So yeah.
No, I love that, because you're so spot on, right? As business owners, we think that we're amazing, and we're usually like hyper optimistic people as well. So we kind of think we can do everything.
Yeah. And I'm like, why would I spend, even if it's like $300 a month, like even if it's super cheap, I'm like, why would I spend $300 a month when that could be in my pocket and I could easily do this? And then 2 months later, I'm only $600 richer, but I've actually spent way more hours doing that I could have been charging out. You know, it's just ridiculous.
It's so funny, isn't it? We just have like this such short-term view of things. Like, and women do this too, like don't invest in themselves and their business as much.
Yeah, that's something I'm really, really struggling to do, is actually like, invest the money into expanding it. And I think that also ties in a bit to the imposter syndrome as well, because I'm like, if you do this and it doesn't work out,
what will happen? Oh my God.
What will happen? Yeah. And it will be really embarrassing. But yeah, I think, you figure it out along the way, right? Hopefully.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm 10 years in and I'm still crossing my fingers. So who knows? Who knows?
In 10 years time, we'll catch up again and we'll see how it all
We'll trade notes. Amazing. It'll be an in real life line next time. So how did you find the transition from being an employee in PR to running your own business in PR?
Interesting, and kind of easier than I anticipated, but I guess there's a lot of like backstory, and I guess, you know, obviously there was the pandemic. We
Yes.
have all been used to working from home. I think like that would have been a huge shock to my system if I hadn't had these like, you know, procedures and routines in place.
Yeah.
You know, working from home for a period of time, and then still, you know, until the end, I was still doing 2 days at home a week. So I think that made a huge difference, because that wasn't something super intimidating for me or something super scary. And then obviously the biggest challenge for me ongoing is managing my own salary, and managing my own finances, because my brain does not work with the numbers. Like it just, like it's not even a joke. Like it cannot fathom numbers. Sometimes, you know, I'll say to my fiance, he'll be like, oh, you know, we owe Hannah $30. And I'm like, oh, and I actually owe her 20 from the other day, so I'll just transfer her 70 now. And he's like, no,
What?
don't transfer her $70. Like, so that I think is like the biggest struggle, and like finding that time to actually, okay, I'm doing client work. When do I actually do the BPR stuff?
Yeah.
And then I think it's also been difficult just managing my own time, and switching off has been probably the most difficult thing, because especially in the past few weeks, you know, I've had a lot of weddings on, so I'm out of the office on a Friday, and all of a sudden, you know, it's not just that I'm on annual leave, it's that I'm a sole trader. I'm the only one doing it. This work's building up whether I like it or not. So if I have to have a Friday off, generally that means I'm working on my Sunday.
Yeah.
And I kind of hate that. I was like,
where's my annual leave?
Yeah.
What a crap boss.
I know. I'm like, whatever happened to me just like putting my out of office on and not giving a shit?
Yeah.
So I missed that, but you know, the pros definitely outweigh the cons.
What do you love about it?
It's just satisfying, like super satisfying. I love running my own race, doing like the flexibility, just being able to kind of answer to myself. Obviously there's being accountable to yourself is within that, but and I think it's really rewarding seeing myself achieve things that I didn't think that I could necessarily achieve. So I mentioned before, obviously it was a bit of a backstory between going from employee to business owner, but I, like so many women across Australia, about 2 years ago was diagnosed with ADHD. So I'd been undiagnosed my whole life, and and this was kind of before anyone was talking about ADHD. So when my psychiatrist or my psychologist suggested that maybe this was what it was, I was like, that is the weirdest thing. Yeah, I was like,
you kind of think about kids, right? Like when you hear ADHD, you just think about kids that.
Yeah, well, because like, I've got a little cousin who has it, and he's just like, you know, he was this little boy that just bounced off the walls and just had all this energy, and it just shows up in such a different way in women. So when my psychologist told me that, I was like, sweetie, back up.
Yep.
Like, I'm pretty sure that you're going to tell me that I had like bipolar or whatever. And so then I've recently, you know, become medicated for that, and it's just like
has it made a difference?
Like the most astronomical difference. I wouldn't even be sitting here if it wasn't for that, because now I've always, you know, been creative, and I've always had, I think, drive, but I've just never been able to channel it, and all of a sudden my brain is just apparently operating the way normal people's brains do.
Wow, that is so cool.
Yeah, so I think the transition would have been way more overwhelming if if I hadn't figured this part about how my brain operates. So yeah, it is pretty cool, and it's pretty gratifying to know.
So what were the big like flags for you? What were you struggling with that made you kind of talk to a psychologist about it to even get to that diagnosis? Like, if anyone's listening, I'm kind of going, can we look out for anything?
For sure. And you know, I'm really like candid and open about all of this stuff. So you know, I really like being able to speak about it. But honestly, I was just feeling really like it was, you know, it was during the pandemic. I was just down. I just couldn't like regulate my emotions. I've always kind of struggled with depression and anxiety throughout my life. It just kind of felt like it was all in a pressure cooker. And my GP was just like, look, I think we can do better than this. And I was like, same. I know we can do better than this.
Yeah.
And it was just really this like I was just overwhelmed all the time with things that wouldn't overwhelm a normal person. Apparently. And really like sensitive. So I just get really, really sensitive, really overwhelmed at things that shouldn't have been stressing me out or shouldn't have been these spirals. It all just turned around and so I think the whole like thing with all these women coming out with ADHD now is just, it's going to be really interesting to see, like, oh my God,
we're finally going to take over the world.
I know. I really am interested to see if there's going to be like a rise in female-led businesses, a rise in female CEOs, a rise in female bosses, because it's just like all of a sudden my brain can work in a normal way. And I was even reading today Mia Friedman from Mamma Mia. She was diagnosed at 49. So she'd just written this whole thing for Mamma Mia. And quite often, women who have it are really like high performers, but they can't balance, or, they have a million other things going on. So I'm going to be watching the stats closely.
That's so cool. I just love that. And I love that you're like open about it as well.
So open about it.
And I'm just so glad people are open about it, because I know there are so many people that are just like sitting behind their desks, like banging their head against the desk, kind of going, what is it? What is up with me?
Yeah. And like, what is stopping me? Like because I've always thought that I knew that I could like be a business owner and start my own business. And like, my parents have always said, do you think you'll ever go out on your own? And my partner's always said it, and my friends have always said it. And I've always been like, no. The worst idea in the world. I could never do that. Like horrific, strike it from the record and move on.
Wow.
It's really nice to have like gone through this journey and then had this really amazing thing at the end. And my psychologist actually went on maternity leave for a period of time.
Yeah.
And when she came back, I was like, so much has happened. I'm engaged. I've started a new business. And she's like, well, but last time I spoke to you, your life was falling apart. And I'm like, honestly, couldn't be better.
That is so cool.
Yeah, she was like, that's really nice.
That's a breakthrough. We call that a breakthrough.
Yeah, literally. I think they call it a breakthrough. I was like, kudos to you, my psychologist. Well done. This was you.
Oh my God. That is awesome. That is so cool.
Yeah.
And I just love as well though, that you were brave enough to like talk about it and ask questions, because I also, so I lived with a partner who was very anxiety, depression, but wouldn't fix it, like wouldn't do anything, like wouldn't like, and I know it's hard and I can.
Yeah. And it is a monster that feeds itself, so it is. And it's really difficult being in a position like that when it's someone you love, because you want to kind of slap them across the face and be like, get your fucking ass up and work, in the words of Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, oh my God, love her.
Yeah, and words of our girl Kim. But obviously there's the other side that, has this deep empathy and understanding that it's completely out of their control.
Yeah. But that's, I think what I'm really like, I guess, impressed with by you is that I know but because I've seen it firsthand, how hard it is. I'm like, I also know how hard it is to like talk about it and ask for help. And the fact that you did that and then got to a resolution, had a solution, and are now thriving is just awesome. I absolutely love that.
Thank you. And that's just why I want to talk about it all the time. And I want to shout it from the rooftops, because I want to be like,
you can do it, guys.
Yeah, literally. And like chat to one another, guys, like speak to your friends and ask for help. And I think that resonates through so many different like facets of our lives, in business as well. Like when you ask for help and you just overcome that fear, everything changes.
Oh, totally. Because, business can be so lonely, right? Like, I mean, you mentioned the pandemic, we all got used to working from home, blah, 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 but it's still really hard. Like, it's still super hard to get up in the morning.
Super hard.
I walk downstairs, I get a coffee, and then I just go into another room and I'm like in the office.
Do you get dressed every morning? Do you like put on like clothes that like
I'm really bad. I only get dressed if I have to do like podcasts or meetings.
Okay, yeah.
And also I'm only half dressed. I have tracksuit pants on and slippers on.
I've just exposed you.
Yeah, I have makeup on, but also slippers.
Well, I mean, I have no shoes on. I've got socks on. So it's kind of similar, but I am wearing jeans. That's something that I'm trying to do. And let's see how long it lasts. But I'm trying to like wake up every morning and like getting dressed in clothes that like excite me or make me feel good, because I just feel like, and especially as someone who has, you know, dealt with mental health problems as well, I can imagine that could be a slippery slope too. But I mean, this is still like, you know, the comfiest thing. I'm like, it's practical.
We're still in lounge wear.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like,
it's the new uniform. I'm into it.
Yeah, but I think getting up in the morning and putting clothes on is like often a struggle, because you're like, I don't need to.
Yeah, who's gonna know?
Yeah,
my partner leaves for work at like 6 a.m. He doesn't know.
You'd be like, I've just already showered, and
that's right. I looked amazing like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, and I think like this morning I had a shower at like 10 a.m. and I'm like, this is weird. Like, I think a bit of routine will set me free. But
yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting as well. Like, I think that is important. For as much as I joke about the fact that I'm only half dressed, I think it is really important to understand what is important to you, like what routines get you into the zone, whether it's getting dressed, whether it's the shower, whether it's makeup, whether it's, you know, I know some people have their home office, so then when they're finished for the day, they close the door, so it's like physically shut off. Like, I kind of do think you need to be a little bit self-aware in business and try and figure out the things that work best for you.
For sure. And I think, yeah, like I've got girlfriends who can happily work all day from the couch and it's no problem for them. And I'm like, go off, sis. That's awesome. I wish I could do that, but I can't.
It makes my neck hurt. It makes my neck hurt.
Well, I just am like,
a little ergonomic chair.
Yeah, I'm just like, this is comfy. I might just have a nap.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's not where I'm my most productive self. Whereas like some of my girlfriends are like, I'm genuinely so much more productive sitting there. So yeah, I think it will just be a bit of a learning period as to how I figured that out. The one thing that I realized that I need to start doing, which I've started doing, is putting in like a meeting free day. At least a no meetings out day, because obviously the nature of my business is I'm constantly meeting with clients. I'm constantly you know, out at events or talking to people for whatever reason, or on BD meetings. And then it might get to Friday and I'm like, I haven't done anything.
Oh, crap.
So I need to, make like a computer day, and I can obviously do a few Zoom calls and stuff, but just saving that travel time, driving around everywhere, I think that's really important. And I think just because I'm working for myself and just because it's my business doesn't mean that I can't like afford myself luxuries like that.
Yes.
Because at first that was like a bridge that I had to get over. I was like, well, no, I've got to hustle. I've got to do it. I've got to build it. And I'm like, okay, no, this is what's going to work for you. And this is how you're going to, you know, get longevity, and this is sustainable. So I think it is affording yourself that flexibility. And you know, I wanted to go out on my own to have a bit more flexibility and to, you know, run my own race and control my own life a bit more. And so if I wanted to do that, actually do it.
Totally. And it's like, if you want to run yourself into the ground, you could do that for somebody else. Like you could work in a
100%,
corporate, like get paid lots, have no responsibility, like
exactly. Switch off when you get home.
Yeah.
Go on annual leave.
Take Fridays off.
Have somebody else there to do your job when you're not.
Oh yeah. You know, when you're out of office where you get to like tag the other person, please see Sophie. She will be looking after all of my things.
Now I'm like, please call me.
If something's on fire, call me anyway.
Yeah, literally. I almost want to start listing out like, this is what constitutes
an actual emergency.
Yeah. I'm like, please see this list for emergencies. Please see this list for non-emergencies. If it's not on that list, don't call me.
That is the best. You have to do that.
Yeah. Oh my God. Hopefully none of my clients listen to this. They'll be like,
yeah, that's right. Oh my God.
I'm like, I am service first, but only to a certain point.
And only on laptop days. Otherwise, I'm probably in meetings and can't really do it anyway.
No, I would say it all to their faces.
That's why they hire you, because you're you. Oh, that's so good. So how have you, I mean, interestingly, because at Spark, we're all about like sales and marketing and business growth and blah, blah, blah. Have you found anything that's actually worked to get new clients for you?
Honestly, just social media.
Yeah.
Has been huge, and word of mouth, obviously, but that's not really something that you can buy or,
I think that just comes when you do good work for people.
Yeah, exactly. But honestly, shameless self-promotion.
Love that.
Like shameless. Yep. And there was this speech that I watched the other day from, and I'm going to expose myself here, but Taylor Swift.
I am so happy right now. Keep going.
Okay, good. I was like, here we go.
Again, no, you're speaking my language.
It's important that we're shameless. And when she got a doctorate of music from NYU, and she said this thing, and it was like, everything that you've ever wanted is on the other side of being afraid to be cringe or something like that. And then it's like, the second that you stop worrying about being cringe, so many doors open up. And I remember thinking, and I was like, I'm so scared to be cringe.
Same.
And I am cringe.
Me too.
Okay. I'm super freaking cringe. And so the second that I stopped worrying, okay, people are going to think that I'm such a loser for promoting my business everywhere and putting my face to it, and they're going to, think that I'm lame or talk about me behind my back or whatever.
Yeah.
The second I stopped caring about that is kind of how things started moving more, because I was more visible, and I just, didn't care. So I just plugged the crap out of myself, essentially.
That's so good. I think everyone needs to write this down, because I think you're right. So anyone listening, take out a pen and paper right now and write down shameless self-promotion.
Yes, plug the crap out of yourself.
I think that's a better phrase. Plug the crap out of yourself. That's going to be the title of this podcast.
Oh my God, I feel like that could sound like something like dialogue.
Well, maybe we'll get more views.
maybe we'll get an interesting sponsor.
That is the best.
Yeah.
How did Spark TV take off?
Like, you don't even want to know.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I honestly think that's it. Because I haven't done much in the way of, like I've done like some boosted posts on Instagram, or I'm really, focusing a lot more on LinkedIn and like building my personal brand on LinkedIn. And again, that's such a cringy saying, personal brand, but it's important. And I think as women in particular, it's really hard to do, and it's hard to overcome. And, I don't think that you would be so worried about being judged if you were a man.
Yeah.
I really don't. And so I think it's scary, but once you do the first like 4 posts, all of a sudden you're like, well,
whatever,
keep doing it. You should see my friends' DMs. Honestly, the poor girls, every time I post something on Instagram, I send it to all of them and I say, like this, share it.
I love that so much.
I'm like running a pyramid scheme.
New sales strategy.
You're like, maybe we don't publish this episode.
No, it's so good. I love it. But I love, you used a word. So if we want to like dial it into something, you use the word visible. Yeah. And I'm like, that's what it is, right? Like we are dealing with a sea of lots of competitors, lots of content, lots of stuff. You've got to be in it to win it, man.
For sure. And, I think as well, like that is my bread and butter. Like what I do is PR.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh no, you really do need to like walk the talk.
I know. It's like, if it's not looking good, then why would anyone hire me? But yeah, it is that visibility. It's just making sure you're out there and, doing things like this as well, and meeting people. Since I've started BPR, or since I decided to really dive into it, the people that I've reconnected with have been amazing. I've reached out to people I haven't spoken to in 10 years since I was, at the beginning of my career. I caught up with them for coffee, and they're so great and supportive. There's one woman I'm working with at the moment, Alex Graham. I'm not sure if you know her, but she's like,
is she a stylist?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that I went to high school with her.
Oh my God, hilarious.
Yeah, pretty sure. I see her on Instagram and I don't even recognize her, but I'm like, I swear to God, I went to high school with you. I'm like, she is just like everything.
Yeah.
Like she's amazing.
She's like the big, like I hadn't spoken to her in 10 years.
Yeah.
I think she sent me a message being like, congratulations, this looks great. I was like, I'd love to pick your brain and talk shop. And she just has been such a support, has like connected me with so many people. And so like, I think that can't be, understated either, is the power of connection, making connections, speaking to people and forming those relationships if you're in that kind of business. Because that's how you meet people. That's how you get clients.
Well, I mean, and I'd hazard to say that everyone's in that business.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm sure it doesn't matter what product or service that you actually sell. Like you need to be networked in your industry.
100%. And like, I like it. I like meeting people. I want to hang out with people. I mean, I'm like an introverted extrovert. So I love being at the parties. I love doing the things, but then I'll get home and I'm like, I'm going to sleep for 18 days. But yeah, I think the power of connection is just so vital when you're in the infancy of a business. And that's also, where word of mouth comes in as well, because I had a call with someone yesterday who was saying, oh, I was over in New Zealand with, your best friend's mum. And
oh my God, wow.
Yeah. And she was saying, I needed to get in touch with you. So here I am getting in touch with you. So it's like, find the people that are on your side. And, they like, when people boost you up, it makes you feel so good as well. And and I think, if you give that back and if you reciprocate that respect and that, let's like use one another to empower one another instead of trying to like step on each other. Like competitors aren't, I don't think of competitors as competitors. I just like, I'd like to work with them. How do we collaborate?
Yes.
And
that's it. We all bring our own kind of niche superpower to our businesses. I love that thought of collaboration and connection. And, it's interesting. Like, I feel like competitors bring on a whole new meaning now. Like in the old days, competitors were bad. And, I remember being in my early sales career, being in some meetings where people would talk badly about competitors. And I've made it my personal mission to never speak badly about a competitor.
I feel like everyone has a seat at the table, unless you're ripping somebody's work off.
Yes.
Or like doing something that's malicious or greedy. Well, not greedy, because that's not even like that's a whole different thing. But, if you're not intending to actually, take someone's business, be harmful, then I think everyone can have a seat at the table.
Totally. There is enough to go around.
Yeah. Just don't copy small businesses things, big, large corporations, if you're listening. Please. I'm sure they're listening. So I
think they are too. Look,
and they're probably like, Lucinda Bayly told me this, so I'm going to stop it right now.
You are an influencer.
Yeah, clearly.
I
act like one online, that's for sure.
Hey, shameless self-promotion. We got to do it. I just learned that is the key to success. So do that.
Until my friends stop talking to me because they're so sick of it. But
my God, no. And that's why friends are so great, because they do like and share your stuff. And
for sure.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's a free way to support, your friend's small business. Like, not everyone I know or love is going to have something that they need my services for, or be able to afford my services, or not be able to, use them for any kind of different reason, whether there's a conflict of interest or, whatever. But the one way that you can support someone who's got a small business is by sharing their posts, leaving them a review. There's so many free and easy ways to support small businesses. So like, do them if you can't actually put your money behind them, because not everybody can.
Totally. I love that so much. So last question to wrap up this episode.
Yes. Otherwise I'll blabber on forever. Sorry.
No, otherwise I'll need to pour another wine. So
it's really a good way for you to like track time, because
that's exactly right. No, I actually have to slow down to have a podcast this long. Okay. So last question to wrap it up. We have listeners who are a little scared about taking the leap. So they want to start their own business. Some of them may have an idea. Some may just want a business. What would be your piece of advice looking back on your journey? If someone was like, how do I just get started? What would you tell them?
I'd probably tell them two things. One, reach out to people that you admire and reach out to people that have done what you want to do and you think have done it seemingly successfully, because I guarantee you it hasn't been a smooth road for them to get there, and what you're seeing isn't the full story, and it will hopefully not terrify you, but hopefully, you know, make you feel like you can do it. So reach out to those people and find a good mentor. And then the other thing I would say is, don't believe everything that your brain tells you.
Oh my God, I love that so much.
That is something that I've had to learn. Just because your brain's saying it doesn't mean it's real, or doesn't mean that it's a fact. So don't listen to your brain sometimes. Just do it.
I love that so much. I know I'm supposed to be wrapping up this episode, but it just reminds me, we started the last intake of the Live Spark program this week, and the biggest thing that came up for people was that they didn't feel worthy of making sales, and this idea of worthiness. And I was like, I was reflecting and researching and listening to all the things, and I was like, worthiness is literally made up.
Yeah.
Like, there's no manual, there's no benchmark, there's no list. Yeah. It's crazy.
You're worthy to what? And I think as well, like, and like before when I said the word greedy, and I was like, oh no, I don't mean that, because I think that's another thing as well. Like, as women in business, we're always taught not to be greedy, or not to be driven by money or whatever. And I think that's like a big thing for business owners and women going into business. That's a huge hurdle that you need to get over too. You can be driven by money. You can want the cash. You can want to bring it in. Like I've been literally gaslit in roles or in salary, you know, reviews, where people, you know, make me feel bad for being driven by money or wanting more money, because I should be doing this for the love of it. You're allowed to want to make money. You're allowed to want to use that money however the hell you want to use it. I want as much money as possible so I can have a good life and so I can help people.
Totally. The more money you have, the bigger impact you can make.
Yeah. But even if you don't want to make an impact, even if you just want to go to like Saint Tropez and buy a yacht, and
then please invite me.
yeah. As long as I'm your friend.
Yeah. Then you're allowed to want that.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice if you did some good, but I just think, don't be afraid to be greedy. Don't be afraid to be motivated by money, just because we've been told that that's not what we're meant to do.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think that there's ever been, well, I'm sure there has been, but I think it's a lot more rare for men to be embarrassed about being
totally.
And that is something that took me a long time to get over, to actually admit, you know what? I actually am motivated by money. That is a motivator for me, amongst a million other things. That is one of them. And yeah, women shouldn't be afraid to admit that.
I think there is no better way to end. You are absolutely amazing, Lucinda. Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers. My 1.6 standards.
You did well. We're at 1.4 now or something like that. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your story with the Spark community. You are incredible. Thank you.
No, thank you for having me on. It was so nice chatting. And let's do it again IRL.
I love it.